Welcome everybody to Frosted Fricks. I am joined by Ryan Koons, the creator of Huniecam Studio and Honeypop. I got it right this time.
There you go.
There you go. And
you'll screw up later.
I will screw up. It will eventually devolve into Huni again. And I have a bunch of questions for him.
I have a quick question for you.
Yeah,
actually.
a quick question for me.
Do you call it Huniecam? Is that just like organically what you called it, or is that because that's what Markiplier calls it?
Actually, honestly, it's organically what I called it because I
yeah?
see the U and I automatically think it's Huni for some reason.
Yeah.
It's like U-N-I-E.
It's an understandable mistake.
Yeah,
I totally.
I don't know what it was about it, but I constantly kept calling it Huniecam. Like my whole play, I called it Huniecam or Huniepop all the time, and I'm like, oh my god. But I have a whole bunch of questions that I'm going to be asking Ryan today. Some questions that were yours, saw a lot that are mine, and I'm going to do my best to do investigative reporting for you guys. So, going on to question one here, Ryan.
Let's do it.
How did you come up with the idea of Huniecam and Huniepop Studio? See, already devolved.
yeah. Oh, man. Already screwed it up. That's fine. So Honeypop, the idea for Honeypop, oh my god, dude. I don't know. Both games evolved, like, over time, right? It was a highly iterative process for both games. And I wouldn't say that, like, I had the idea for the game when I started, right? Because I make my games very iteratively. I don't usually write a design document, or if I do, it's, like, really small, right?
Yeah.
In fact, I stay out of, like, word processing altogether. I do most of my designing in spreadsheets. I just find it easier to design there. So, yeah, there wasn't really a meaningful design doc for either of those games. It was really just, like, I kind of had a vague idea of what I sort of knew I wanted to make, and then I just started making it, and it just sort of evolves, right? Because you start developing the game, and the farther you get, the more information you have about the game and about what limitations you might have, and you know what kind of quality you're going to be able to provide with the resources that you have, right? And then it just sort of ends up what it is, right? So, like in the case of Huniecam, it didn't start out as, like, you know, a cam horror tycoon thing at all, right? And it started out as, like, I know I kind of want to make a honey game in this style that I fell in love with. And so I just sort of started jabbing around at different ideas and different mechanics, like what kind of honey game can I do? I don't want to do a direct sequel because it's not very creatively interesting or challenging for me at this point. But I know I want to continue this series in some way, so it just over time the pieces just kind of came together, and then at one point the cam horror idea just clicked in my head, and I was like, oh, that's funny, right?
Yeah,
that's funny, we'll do that.
The other question I have is what language or framework or engine do you prefer to work in?
Yeah, so I'm a Unity guy. I really like all the engines, but I'm most accustomed to using Unity. So I use Unity, all the native 2D stuff. Actually, Honeypop, at the time, there was no native 2D shit in Unity, so I had to, like, write all my own custom 2D tools, which is why the code base for Honeypop is now absolute trash, right? And when people ask me to do, like, updates or DLC characters for Honeypop, it just sounds like a fucking nightmare to me. Because the code base is basically just trash, right? Because now I use the native 2D stuff, and I'm just like a way better programmer too. So it's like I don't even want to see that fucking old Honeypop code. But yeah. So anyway, Unity. Yeah, I program in C#, and then for my editing and stuff, I use the typical tools like Photoshop, After Effects. I do all my UI design in Illustrator.
Okay.
I love Illustrator. And sound booth for audio stuff, and the usual tools.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's just all based on preference. It's just what you prefer to work with.
It's what I'm most accustomed to. Right?
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
The other question I have is how many people helped with the development of the game?
Of Huniecam.
Of Huniecam, yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess I could answer for both, right?
Yeah.
And so for Honeypop, there was me. Well, honestly, the answer is like the same for both games. Different teams, but like kind of the same number of people, right?
Okay.
Because there's me, my composer John, who's a cool guy, did both games, the music for both games, and I had about 4 artists for each game. Some were doing in-game art, some just promo art, and then some number of voice actresses, right? So like Huniecam, I think I had, or sorry, Honeypop, I had like, well, there was, 12 characters, so I had 12 voice actresses. In Huniecam, there were a few voice actresses who were able to cover more than one girl, so I had like 14, 15 voice actresses.
That's
or something
still
like
a lot
that.
of voice actresses.
It's a lot of voice actresses, but you know what?
Actresses.
I mean, they're all totally down to do the projects, and they're all super nice people. So it's easy to manage a team when everybody's cool, right? And nobody's a fucking loser.
Yeah, or when they deliver stuff on time.
Well, you know, and the thing about that is nobody delivers anything on time, right? And you, as the person managing the project, you just have to recognize that and plan ahead for it, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I always have, like, a huge runway. I'm like, hey, I need this by this date. When I don't actually need it until, like, 3 weeks later, but you just have to plan for people.
So make an earlier deadline so they try to achieve that, but you already knew that they weren't going to be able to get to it, so the later deadline.
And who can blame them? I mean, this shit is hard, right? It's not easy, stuff to do, so you just have to plan for it. Now,
did they do the audio editing themselves, or did you do it for them?
I edit the audio, which is why it's fucking terrible. I mean, I think, right? As the creator, you can spot all the flaws in the work that you do, right? And of course, I'm sure very few people that have played Huniecam will complain about the audio, but I listen to it, and it's just like chalkboard, man. Nails on a chalkboard.
No, I've gotten there because I do voice acting as well. So it's like when I get into some of my audio work and I get like halfway through something I've done, and then I just start hearing something, and no matter what I do, it's still there. And I've remastered it and did it over again and did it over again, and I'm like, nope, screw it, dump it, do it again, and I can just imagine just how bad it could be for you to have to go through 15 different people doing I don't know how many different lines.
I mean, honestly, it was a lot easier for Huniecam, and one of the secret reasons that I decided not to do such a dialogue-heavy game is because I fucking hate going through all that dialogue. Not only cutting it up and exporting it, that's kind of the easy part.
Yeah.
But in Honeypop, you know how the mouths actually like match the audio.
Yeah.
In Honeypop,
I was actually noticing that when I was playing through it. You did not do that with Huniecam.
I didn't do it with Huniecam. Well, particularly because I didn't need to.
No,
with
you
Huniecam,
really didn't.
Right? It's not really the way the audio works. But in Honeypop, going through there, that was half programmatic and half manual, right? So I was able to get it to a certain point through just using code, right? But it still was totally out of sync. There's a lot of pauses in the lines of dialogue that the girls recorded, right? So it's like it wasn't picking up those subtle things. So I had to go through every single line for every single girl and manually tweak the mouth movement and everything to get it just right. And it took, weeks. I could only get through like one girl every day. So I was
geez.
I promised myself next game, fuck that shit.
So that coupled with the programming alone probably took you an extreme amount of time.
Yeah.
It
did. So not to say that I won't ever do that again. I just needed a break for that game.
So going on to my next question, still rolling off the voices. What did you look for in your voice actresses? Where did you find them?
I found them on a two voiceover communities, Voice Acting Alliance and Voice Acting Club. I want to say I might have that slightly wrong, but have you ever heard of those communities?
Actually, I'm part of the Voice Acting Alliance Club.
Yeah.
Alliance Club.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Yeah. So they're just message boards, right?
Yeah.
And you're just on there. There's people that are looking for work, and there's people that need talent, right? So I just made a post about my game. The Kickstarter had already been successful at that point, so I kind of had an advantage. Like, hey, this project might actually come out, right? Like, it's, there's people interested in it, and you'll get paid. So I think I had a nice advantage there. So I just made the post, and you get an insane amount of auditions, and you have to go through them all, and most of them aren't good, but there are a few that are, and I was very fortunate that the talented cast that in Honeypop all auditioned, because I think it turned out great.
Okay. I'm glad it actually worked out,
shout out to Brittany Lauda too, who helped me massively with casting Huniecam. She's the voice of Audrey.
Oh.
And Brooke.
The peach.
Yeah,
What a peach.
Audrey and Brooke in Huniecam. And she's she's so involved in the voice acting world and knows like everybody, so she was a huge help getting that game casted.
She voiced a character who I've considered a treasure to
Yes.
Honeypop, and yeah, that's awesome. And what was her name again?
Brittany Lauda.
Brittany Lauda.
Yeah.
Does she have like a Twitter or anything?
Oh, she totally, yeah.
Okay,
she has
well,
a
I'm
Twitter.
gonna look
We can
her up.
up.
I'm gonna put her link in the description below.
Word.
Now another question I have is: did you run into any snags when developing the game? Because I saw you told me you planned for it, but there's always something that goes awry.
Yeah, and it was more like just internal than anything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were some problems with, managing a team that size. It's just like one guy who has no idea how to manage a team. But really, I found like most of the problems with Huniecam were internal and just sort of like creative blocks and analysis paralysis and all that type of thing, right? Because when you're being creative and you're creating something new, it can just be very challenging. All the emotions that kind of go in and out, right? And you just get all kinds of different design blocks and writing block, and it can, whatever. You're a creative person, you kind of get it.
Yeah, no, I get you on that.
Yeah, and especially like when we announced the game, our art style got a lot of the art style that we decided to go with Huniecam. At first, there was a lot of negative feedback about that, and that gets to you too. You know what I mean? I like to think I can kind of not rise above all the negativity, but just stick to my vision, right, and do what I said I was going to do, and deliver, on my promises.
But you did say there was a lot of negativity. You said this to me on off camera, but you did tell me that there was a lot of negativity that went when the initial design of the characters went out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and that's sort of the art style, right? That just I mean, honestly, the biggest problem with the art style, to me, is the criticism that it looks like a Facebook game. And that's on me. Like, that's on me. Because I designed the UI, right? That's not... Like, the character art, some people have a problem with it, but to me, it was just the fact that overall, it kind of had the appearance of a Facebook game. And that's totally legitimate criticism. And the reason it does is because I did the UI, and that's just how I design UI. I'm just used to that type of, designing that type of interface. But I mean, that was pretty rough to get through, but I kind of got through that phase. And then there was the other phase, which I was telling you about, which is when Undertale came out.
Oh, yeah.
And the Undertale is just such an amazing game, and I just played it, and I was just absolutely steamrolled by how good it was. And I like how even a game could be that good or that creative.
Yeah,
or that interesting and fresh.
It took me. It took a couple people to convince me to actually play it, but when I started playing it, I'm like, I can't stop playing this thing. That was a really excellent game.
I almost hate to admit it, but like I haven't beaten it yet because I got to a certain point where I just like couldn't take how good it was anymore. Because I mean, like, of course I'm not competing with Toby Fox, but this is, in a way, like I'm competing with every game that exists, right? It was just, it's so hard to play Undertale and then look back at what I was doing and like not just feel all kinds of negativity, right? Like, oh God, where the fuck is this going? This amazing ass game over here. So I got to a certain point, like I'm right at the boss battle with the robot. I forgot his name. What's that?
The final. Oh wait. Shoot. I'm gonna.
You're blanking on it too.
Megatron.
Megaton. Yeah. I got to him, and I was at that point. I was like, I can't play. I have to finish Huniecam before I play any more of this game to just keep back the fucking depression, right? so I did, and I still haven't gone back to it, but I will soon.
So overall, on Huniecam, would you call the game a success?
Yeah, and I talked about this at the Space, actually. I think you were there, right? Yeah, I did like a little presentation at this local game community thing that we go to. It is a success, like, in terms of sales and all that. It's doing great, and that's fine. But in terms of, like, the reception, right, how people actually feel about it, when I made that presentation, I think I had a little bit more negative tone than I would now. Yeah. Because when it first came out, there were a lot of people, there were a lot of thumbs down on that Steam page. I honestly think it was Honeypop fans. That were many of them, right? I mean, a lot of them like it, and some of them don't, right? And they were very happy to let me know that they didn't. And that's totally fine. I mean, that's totally fair.
This isn't Huniepop at all.
yeah, Huniepop. But yeah, now I think like that's kind of over, right? I think people that really wanted something different and vented their frustration, that's over with, and now I think people just kind of appreciate it for the game that it is, and the page is looking a lot more blue now. Yeah. So I feel a lot better about it. So I would say, yeah, overall, I'm really happy with how the game was received by people. I've seen just a lot of great tweets and messages to me about how much people are enjoying it. So of course that's very fulfilling and satisfying as a developer, right? Because it's all you really want is just please like my shit.
Yeah. Please don't be terrible. No, I understand that one a little bit too well. So another question I have here is one that I was mulling over for a while, but what advice can you give about marketing a project for people who are watching this that may want to become developers themselves?
Yeah. So this is one of my favorite questions to answer because I have a definite answer, and that is there's a blog post, and I sent you the link, so included in
I'm definitely putting that in the description.
Yeah, but there's a blog post on the Facepunch Studios development blog or company website, whatever it is, and it's a blog post called Marketing Your Game, and they go over essentially how they market their games, right? And they recognize that everybody's situation is different, but generally speaking, I love the advice in that article because it's the kind of thing that I think, right? And I love people shouting my own ideas back at me.
Yeah.
And so it's all about essentially how, like, really, at the end of the day, all you have to do is ship an amazing game, right?
Yeah.
Step 1, make an amazing game. Step 2, release said game. And then it's sort of just like the world will take it from there, right? Okay. And your job in marketing and promoting your game is sort of done at that point. And all the other things that a lot of developers tend to do to get their name out there or their game out there, with going to different conventions and buying ad space or whatever it is ultimately not going. It's not going to make a big impact, right? Mm-hmm. One of my favorite lines in there, and I'm going to butcher it, so I'm just kind of paraphrasing, is like, you could spend a ton of time and a ton of money taking your setup to a convention, right? And you can reach a few thousand people maybe, right, with your message or your game or whatever. Or you could take that time and money and just invest it into finishing your game or making a better game and releasing that. And then once it's released, YouTubers and streamers will start playing it. Well, not streamers in my case, but... Oh,
yeah, no. We'll get to that in a minute.
But, they'll start playing it, and then you'll reach millions of people, right? So it's thousands versus millions. It's obvious, right? Yeah. So it's a great article. I highly recommend reading it.
And again, there's going to be a link to that in the description below the video, right there, down there, So now that's all my questions, but I want to move on to fan questions. And of course, I got to start with one of the first comments that actually popped up on my screen when I put up the announcement video was from Super Milkbox. And it is, which game is your favorite between the Honeypop?
Between Honeypop and Huniecam, yeah. Yes. And you just have to give it to Honeypop. As much as I love Huniecam, Honeypop is my first child, my first love. So, of course, it would just be wrong not to pick that game.
It's the older brother or sister in this case.
Yeah. No, they're men. My games are men.
They're men, despite the fact of all the women. It's the man. No.
Yeah, so it's just, you kind of have to pick it. So Honeypop would be the favorite game of mine that I've made so far, but that could change in the future.
Now, you were talking about not being streamable, and that actually was another question that came up from an Ashley Silverdust. It says, tell us the story between your games and Twitch.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, there really isn't much of a story, unfortunately. It's just Twitch banned my games, and my games are banned on Twitch.
Yeah.
That's the moral of the story.
But you did manage to set a record, I think, possibly?
Yeah,
or at least a personal record?
Honeycam was banned on Twitch within 2 hours of the game releasing.
And I think it just might have been because of the name.
Probably. Let's face it, probably.
Like, if you look at it down to a bare minimum, there really isn't anything outside of what you'd expect out of Grand Theft Auto that you wouldn't expect in Huniecam besides, going around shooting people.
It is a pretty interesting ban, I'm not going to lie, but at the same time, there are fans of mine out there that I think are more angry about it than I am, right? I mean, I I recognize that Twitch is a private company, and they have every right to make whatever kind of decision they want. So it's like I'm not gonna get all up in arms about it. It is what it is, and it's not necessarily going to stop me from making the type of games that I like to make. Because while I think Twitch is good for your bottom line at the end of the day as a game creator, it's not everything, right?
No, you're absolutely right, because there's other different social media that it could easily get put on.
Sure. And
a follow-up to question from that, also from Ashley Silverdust, is will you be taking this into consideration in your next game to hopefully have it Twitchable?
So the answer is ultimately not really. Like I was telling you before, with Huniecam, I kind of started out with that mentality. I was like, oh man, it would be great to not have this game banned on Twitch, right?
Yeah.
And so I kind of had that in the back of my head when we were first starting, but it got to a point pretty quick where I was like, all right, this is just fucked, right? There's almost no way. And then, once we started adding in some of the sexy outfits and the fetishes and shit like that, it was pretty much gone. And then especially when Yandere Simulator was banned on Twitch.
That I did not. Yeah, actually, that's one thing I didn't know.
Yeah, and then when that was banned on Twitch, I was like, that's it. Huniecam is banned no matter what. It could be a game about petting cats, and it's fucking banned at this point.
They'll find some
Petting
reason
pussies.
for some. Yeah, there you go. That's what that should be the name of your next game. Petting pussies, and it's all it is just a bunch of cats.
Yeah.
That's it. You're in charge of a cat store. Maybe Audrey runs it.
There you go.
This one is from a guy named Disaster Strikes. He goes, which one of the girls do you think has a similar personality to you?
Yeah, and I would say, really, ultimately, none of them, right? Because I'm just sort of like a default white guy for the most part, who's like into games and shit.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick one, I would say Nikki, just because Nikki's like into games and kind of an introvert, and kind of hates people. Right, I think those fairly describe my personality to a certain degree. So I'd say I'm probably most like Nikki, even though she is my least favorite Honeypop character, just because of how boring I find her. I know she has a lot of fans, but I'm not one of them.
She has tons of fans.
Yeah.
So Nikki is actually one of my favorite characters. One of them, not the favorite, but she is one of my favorite characters. And the question, I guess, that came up in one of the questions on my board here was, why did you change, I guess, the cup size for certain people? I guess in this one, Nikki has like a pair of gazongas on her, where the other one she was sort of just
flatter. Yeah, she was flatter. So like, there's kind of a two-part answer to this.
Okay.
The first part is like, it doesn't matter to me to change it, right? Like, I don't have to have things within the Honeypop universe stay consistent. I know for lore whores, I learned that term recently. I'm using it now.
Okay.
Lore whores. That's kind of an important thing. But honestly, like for me as a creator, it's just not really that important for me to keep those small little details consistent. I'm happy to change people's ages and cup sizes and whatever else to fit the needs of the current project.
Yeah.
Right? Because to me, it's not like a universe that's, that like needs to be consistent. The Honey series is just like sort of this abstract blob of ideas that I can pull from to build games, right?
All right.
That's how I see it. As much as I know that annoys some people, but I don't know. That's how I see it. And then the second thing is, if the art that I got, because I'm not, we weren't in any situation money-wise or time-wise to be redoing whole characters.
Yeah.
Because, it could take up to 2 weeks to do, or even longer if the artists are really busy with stuff to do one character, right? So we weren't in a position to redo characters. So I got Nikki with huge tits, and I'm like, Nikki has huge tits now,
yeah.
right? Like, whatever. So that's the answer to that.
And based off of who's my favorite, I want to say my favorite is Belly. I'm a big Belly fan, so
yeah, and you can't go wrong with Belly.
And
there are days where I'm like, man, I am a fucking Belly guy. I really am.
Yeah,
I get some fan art sometimes of Belly, and I'm like, those hips, dude, fuck.
And that's what a lot of people were concentrating on. Let's see. Okay, now I got another question from Thomasai and Calvin. Cal, I don't know how the hell he pronounces it, but Are there any girls in the Honey series inspired from women you know? And where do you draw your inspiration for them?
You know, I'm actually glad we're redoing this interview because I have like a slightly better answer to this question.
Uh-huh.
And because I thought about it a little bit more, and I actually realized most of the names of the characters are named after people that I know. Right?
Huh.
Yes, like last time I was telling you, yeah, a lot of the personalities are kind of inspired by different women, I've met, and they're kind of crazy, unique personalities. And I've sort of amplified those personalities to be even more interesting, right? But I couldn't really remember exactly like who influenced who, other than Q, which is very influenced by her voice actress, who happens to be a friend of mine, right?
Okay.
So that worked out perfect. But actually, like, Aiko is named after an ex-girlfriend's friend, right? Who's Japanese. So I was like, and I just love the name Aiko, so I went with that. Kiana is I think the cousin of my friend's ex-girlfriend, right? So it's like, I honestly, like, I just, through my chain of people that I know, I was just like, I love this person's name, and I'm just going to steal it and put it in this game. And that's just what I do, right? You just got to pull from real life, right?
But their direct personalities aren't in any
not necessarily. It's
okay.
not synced up. It's not like, I used Kiana's name, so I used her personality.
Yeah.
In fact, I would say Kiana's personality was pretty just off the top of my head, I think. That one in particular wasn't necessarily inspired by anybody. But yeah, I was just thinking the other day, I was like, man, like almost everybody is named after a real life person that I know. Because that's where I get most of my inspiration, really, is just from reality, right? I find it difficult to just totally make something up. Just like, I know a lot of people are really good at it, right?
Yeah.
But like, I'm not. It's just something I'm not good at as a creator, of just completely fictionalizing something out of nothing, right? I need like some basis in reality to put my spin on.
Well, everything comes from something. It's got to be.
Of course.
There's just no way something can just appear and that's it.
Right.
Unless you want to get into like theories, but I don't want to go into that theory because then this thing would end up being from 30 minutes to like 4 hours long.
Yeah.
We're not going to go there. So moving on. This one is a group question. I say group question because like 4 people asked these questions. Charles Sue Shadow Wolverine 10 ask, is there going to be a DLC? And Alexander Adam and Young Fetus God says, possibly any extra characters from the first game. They are wondering if there's going to be a key or anything that you could download to the new Huniecam Studio series.
Very likely no, right?
Okay.
I developed both Honeypop and Huniecam to just be sort of closed experiences, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not, I mean, really, even programmatically, they're not open to DLC. I'd have to go in and make some serious changes to the code in order to allow for things like DLC. So no, there won't be, aside from maybe like really important bug fixes or like the minor update here and there, I don't really plan on adding huge amounts of content to either of the existing games. I'd rather put all of the focus into building something completely new that people haven't experienced yet, right? So I can just continue to provide new experiences, hopefully, for people. I mean, not totally new, right? I mean, Honeypop is just bejeweled with tits, but it's a fresh perspective, I think, that people really appreciate. So that's where my focus is.
That was actually one of my favorite quotes that I did from when I did my Let's Plays of Honeypop. Was like, or I was playing Bejeweled. I'm like, I'm gonna win your heart with Bejeweled, and I pull out my phone. And just, is this doing anything for you? I was having too much fun with that. So, another question comes from Jab Isn't Funny, and it says, has anyone tried to mimic your game?
Yes. There's 2 of that I know that are absolute, just shameless ripoffs of Honeypop. One of them is a Flash game called Pussy Saga, and honestly, the art is pretty good for a Flash game. I'm not going to knock it for the art. I am, however, going to knock it for the dialogue, because they got the dialogue all wrong, right? Mm-hmm. There's a subtlety to the dialogue in Honeypop. There's a subtlety to the language and to the offensive remarks and the sort of the one-liners and the jokes and shit, right?
Yeah.
There's an art form to writing a game like Honeypop, and they got it totally wrong. The game is like extremely mean to all the female characters, referring to them as like essentially nothing but like worthless sex holes or whatever. I think they actually refer to the girls as holes. Like,
wow.
There's like a holes menu or something. I swear.
Wow.
I don't know. It's been like a little while since I played it, which in one way is fucking hilarious, but in another way it's like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah.
Like there's a
fine line.
You just gotta like lightly stroke it, man. You can't fucking just come out swinging with that shit. So there's that game, and then there's another game that's coming out on Steam in June called something like Perino Party.
Yeah.
And it's just another obviously totally shameless ripoff. You can see it uses like the same exact mechanics and puzzle pieces and everything.
Right down to the notes. I remember seeing some images. They like he has like little notes and symbols, all representing different things in Honeypop, and they are almost precisely the same thing, except they use skulls instead of broken hearts.
That's a huge game changer, dude. That's a game changer.
That's where the copyright just stops. Nope, we use skulls. It's totally not the same.
Skulls, dude. Just reinventing the genre. Yeah, but that game, their characters look like shit. Their characters don't look interesting. It doesn't look like they captured sort of the personality that everybody loves about Honeypop. Everybody. It sounds so
everybody loves
egotistical.
Honeypop.
Some people love about Honeypop. And then, so I think I'm really interested to see how that game does. Like, really, really interested to see how it does. I'll be refreshing that Steam page nonstop when that shit comes out.
So, moving forward there's another person that asked, will Huniecam ever come to Android or iOS? And that person's name is Z-Tech Senpai. Don't think I forgot.
Z-Tech Senpai. The answer is no. It's never going to happen in a million years because you have to go through an approval process to get on either of those platforms. And you can definitely sneak some stuff through. There's just no way these games are getting on either of those platforms. They're not getting approved. So unfortunately, I'll never be on mobile with either of those games.
Ah.
Yeah.
But, it happens.
Yeah.
So, another question moves into and this one's from Meatball Yarrow 2, otherwise known as Ray. He's actually a friend of mine.
Okay.
And he asks, why are you such a badass?
Why am I such a badass?
Yeah,
so that came from your friend.
That came from a friend, yeah.
Yeah.
He wants to know why you're such a badass.
Yeah, so honestly, I have the same answer as last time, which is I don't see myself as a badass at all. I see myself as a fucking loser who just sits at home and programs and designs games all day. Mm-hmm. Occasionally leaves his house when he's hungry.
He's got to eat.
Or something like that. But yeah, man, I don't know. So if that's what a badass is to you, what was his name?
Well, his name's Ray, but he goes by
Meatball. Ray, if that's what a badass is to you, then you should start doing that, man. Make games and don't do anything else.
Do nothing else. Breathing, forget about it. It's all about games. Now, there is a question I got to ask that a lot of people asked, and there is a big question I got to ask that a lot of people asked.
Yeah.
And the first question is, what are you currently working on now?
Right.
And that was asked across the board on Tumblr, Reddit, you name it. People were asking these questions, and then there's a bigger one after that.
Okay, so the first question, what am I working on now?
You're working on right now.
Yeah.
You're working on. What are you working on now?
So I am working on something now, but I'm not in any position to be talking about it yet. It's super early. Things could change, right? I mean, depending on just how the waves of life are flowing, things could change if I'm not really feeling it after a while. Well, actually, that's not true. I'm definitely committed to it.
Okay.
I will say that. I'm 100% committed to the project. So I really doubt things are going to change at this point, but I'm still not in any position to talk about what it is just yet. But you'll know everybody will know when we're ready.
Well, that's good. And the big question is based off the same question I had, but this was across the board, the top asked question on YouTube, Reddit, Tumblr, Facebook, Twitter, you name the social media. It was asked, and is there, and where is my Huniepop 2?
Where is my Huniepop 2? Yeah, again, I mean, that's, just essentially the same question about future projects. Not ready to talk about it yet. I totally recognize that everybody wants Honeypop 2. I'm not religiously against doing a Honeypop 2. It would have to be different for me to be interested in doing it. It couldn't be Match 3 in the same way with the same gameplay mechanics and just more content. That I can promise you is never going to happen. If there is another Honeypop that has maybe the same attitude and kind of personality with fresh mechanics, that could certainly happen. I'm not saying that is what I'm working on or it isn't at this point, but I would certainly be interested in, at least at some point, doing something like that, right?
Yeah.
A new game that sort of captures the same essence and personality that people love.
It just seems like you have this huge following for the Honey series, and people just want to see more just added to it. That's what I guess they're looking for. They want to see,
and it's interesting. I get that. It's really something to think about.
It's like you're building your own little community.
It's there's this weird disconnect between developers and fans where it's like, I think about it, the game that to me is like most prevalently demonstrates this is Smash Brothers, right? Or the series, right? So like, I feel like everybody, well, not everybody, right? But like most of the serious Smash people just want Melee again, right? They just want like more Melee, the same balance, and well, maybe not the same balance since that game was horrifically unbalanced, but that level of competitive play and whatever it is that people like about Melee, right? But as a creator, it's like you want to always introduce something new and fresh into the world, right? And even if you go with a sequel or an existing series, you want to change the rule book, right?
Yeah.
You want to make things fresh, and you always want to be improving on existing formulas. So it's a weird thing, and I think you can do it. I think you can give your audience something new that they like even better than what would have been just like a generic sequel, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not easy. It's a tough thing to do, but I do think it can be done.
It's just like reworking it from the ground up, pretty much.
Yeah.
But I guess it's just you just have, as I said, you have so many people that just love the series and they want more, and for you go, oh yeah, I understand that. I want to work on other things, but I mean, like, I get that, like, you guys want it.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's where I stand, right? I love the Honey series, and of course, I do have some interesting ideas that have been stirring up in my head for what I could do, where I could go with that. But at the same time, there's other awesome ideas I'd like to explore outside of that series as well. So it's a tough balance to choose because, unfortunately, there's really like 1,000 projects I'd love to be working on, but unfortunately, you only get one.
You're one person,
and you only get one for like a year or more, right? So it's like you fucking got to commit.
No, that makes sense to me completely.
Yeah,
and I hope it makes sense to everybody else. But for right now, that's actually all the questions I have for today.
All right, great.
And
man.
I really thank you for coming back and doing this again. For those of you who are just tuning in, I actually had a recording with Ryan at a different location. My audio cut out halfway through the recording, and I was not going to put out something that was not of substantial quality for you guys. And Ryan agreed, thankfully, to come back in and redo it, which is why we're able to do this now. And
to be honest with you, I'm kind of glad it turned out this way because, one, I have no problem hanging out, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to do this thing now. It's like where I don't work on weekends, right? Because like when you're mid-project as a fucking game developer, it's crunch 24/7. Right?
Oh, yeah.
It's never not crunch from like the moment you start the project. So it's like I usually just work like nonstop, like 7 days a week, right? And just like take breaks to breathe every once in a while and shit.
That.
But I'm trying, like, now that I'm getting up there in age, now I'm 30 years old, it's like, I need to introduce some balance into my life. So I'm trying, like, not to work on weekends. So I can actually say, for, like, the first time in a long time, that I didn't really have anything better to do today. So, so that works out. And also, honestly, I can already tell the quality of this video is just going to be way better.
Yeah, I'm really proud of how this one's going to turn out compared to the last one.
And I'm at least like 20% more attractive with this lighting.
There, you see, like, that's why I do the lighting thing, because otherwise I break mirrors. But I thank you guys very much for coming along. Thank you very much for answering some
worries.
people's questions, my questions that were all over the place.
Yeah.
But you've been very helpful and, again, very courteous to help me out with trying to do this again.
No worries.
And you guys have been great. You've been great. And for all of you out there, as usual and always, and until next time, game on. Hey, all you beautiful people, thank you very much for watching this, and I thank you also very much for your patience in the release of this particular video. I wanted to make it perfect for you, and I was going to do it, gosh darn it. And a very special thank you to the Buffalo Game Space. Without them, I would have not have been able to get a hold of Ryan Koons to do this particular video just for you. Buffalo Game Space is a non-profit organization dedicated to helping people make games by offering the educational mentorship and equipment resources to both professional and aspiring new game developers. They are located right here in Buffalo, and if you're into town, please go ahead and check them out. If you want to see more videos just like this one, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and check out the rest of the channel. Also, please visit the Patreon account that I just made. It would actually be very helpful so I can bring more content to you guys at better quality and possibly be able to get to further locations and destinations to get the interviews that I need to get for you. Thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you very much for following along. Until next time, game on.